Author Showcase. We interview people who are making a difference through the written word in Oshkosh and surrounding areas. I'm Dixie Jarko, and with me is Tom Cannon, while Bill Gillard works the board. You can find us on Local Access TV and on our YouTube channel. Today we're speaking to Erica Floyd. Erica Floyd holds an MFA in creative writing. She is the owner, founder, and CEO of Lake Literary Center, as well as a writer and editor. The goal of Lake Literary Center is to offer access to high-quality creative writing workshops, book-themed events, author readings, and book signing events. And that just scratches the surface. Tell us more about it.
Thank you so much for having me, Dixie and Tom. It's great to be here. Thank you. So it has been a long and winding road. I was recently on the Midwest Writers Room podcast, which is the Wisconsin Writers Association podcast. And I confessed on that podcast that I never had a desire to be my own boss or to be an entrepreneur or own my own business. And eventually I just decided that the control and the flexibility of my work environment, of the programming I could bring to the community, of the community building I could do, was just much better served by having my own business. So that is what Lake Literary Center is. It's not technically a nonprofit, so it is a revenue-generating business. Not much revenue, though. This is the literary world we're talking about. So just realistically, I really like the idea that I'm able to have my own brick and mortar. I host writing workshops. We bring authors to town to do readings and teach their own writing workshops as guest instructors. We offer a monthly open mic, and we also have, I would say, probably about 50% of our programming is for readers. So book clubs, really fun literary themed events that are off-site, bigger events like a big Regency ball that we just had in May.
Fun.
Celebration of all things Jane Austen and Bridgerton, and just really fun, book sales. I collaborate with the owner of Lunar and Lake a lot, and that's the only bookstore in Fond du Lac, and we just dream up fun things for readers to do in the area. And the reason that I started Lake Lit is because I really saw a need for consistent and robust literary programming in the Fond du Lac and surrounding area. I wanted more writing workshops, more book clubs that were maybe themed instead of just a general interest book club. And I really wanted the opportunity to bring authors to town and show them that Fond du Lac has a lot to offer, and especially the surrounding areas too. Oshkosh, Appleton, Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, they're all within an hour's drive of Fond du Lac. So I think it's a great opportunity for authors to come to Lake Lit, present their work, and teach a workshop of their own. It's a really great way to build your CV if you're looking for that kind of opportunity. I have worked in a ton of different industries, which I think is a benefit to owning my own business for sure. I started out actually working for a nonprofit media watchdog group as a journalist, and I have an undergrad journalism degree, and I feel like I still use that degree every single day in communications, PR, appearing on television, whatever it may be. So I think that really does help. Having that background has been really helpful, and having a marketing background, that's what I eventually ended up doing, especially because journalism jobs are few and far between these days. So I ended up working in a whole bunch of different industries, and that is kind of what led me to start my own business.
Now, you started in Fond du Lac on Main Street. An absolutely beautiful place. It was just a joy to go and read or try and write there. But now you've moved. So tell us about the new spot, because I haven't been out there yet.
Yes. So we gave up the hubbub of downtown Fond du Lac and the foot traffic, which was really beneficial.
Well, there was all that construction, too. It was just a killer.
Yeah, the construction is done, and it looks beautiful downtown. So I definitely recommend checking out downtown Fond du Lac now. But what we really kind of struggled with was the noise. We're sort of an introvert's business. We're in the business of reading and writing, and so it was hard to have silent reading happy hour, which is a program that we put on. It was sometimes hard to teach writing workshops when there was just a lot of ambient noise from the downtown area. And so we ended up moving to Malone, which is a suburb of Fond du Lac, and it's on the eastern side of Lake Winnebago, and it's a beautiful space. It's very quiet. The area is lovely. We're surrounded by farm fields. So there's very minimal noise, and I think that really helps the programming feel even more high quality.
So if looking out the window, you're seeing nature and not, to be honest, big trucks rumbling by, right?
Yes, yep. And the majority of my events are in the evening, so I always say watch for deer. Be careful. Now that we're in a more rural area, be careful for deer and, possums and raccoons and things like that. But please do come check it out. I would love to have you there. We are having events usually 2 to 3 nights a week right now.
Yeah. And how would people find those events?
The most updated schedule can always be found on our website, which is lakeliterary.org. Or you can check our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is sometimes not as up to date as the website because we moved. So I'm still sort of transferring over all of the addresses from those events, but that will all be up to date at some point soon.
And you post actual events. So if you go to the events on Facebook, they'll be there, and then you can get some more information, and probably helps you out a little bit if people respond, I'm going to go to this and things like that.
We signed up online. I think it was really convenient.
Yes, definitely register for all events on lakeliterary.org. That's the easiest way for me to know who's coming. Then I know how many snacks to get you and how many beverages. So, yep.
So did I hear, so some events are there in the evening, but you're also doing some events that are still in Fond du Lac, correct? Like at the library?
Yes. So my new space does not have a bigger open area for up to 25 chairs like my old space did. The new space has some smaller rooms, which is really beneficial for the writing workshops and the book clubs that we host, but it doesn't have essentially an event venue space. So any events that are going to be over, I'd say about 15 people, will be held off-site, and the majority of them will be at the Fond du Lac Public Library, which is a great way for us to collaborate with the other literacy-focused organization in town.
Okay. So you're focused on helping writers with their careers, which is a great thing. I think we need more of that around. We need, just lots of support, all we can get to become literary hubs. Why don't you tell us a little bit, though, about your writing journey, where you began, why did you start writing, and things like that.
I have been writing since I can remember. I think since I learned how to hold a pencil, probably. I think I started out writing little articles at my grandparents' block party each year.
Oh, wow.
I would run around with my little notepad as a reporter and talk to people about what their favorite activities were, who brought the best dish to the potluck, who is going to be the winner of the water balloon fight, things like that. So it was really fun to write up these little articles, and they would put out a newsletter, and my articles would be in there. And I think I was probably 7 or 8 when I started doing that. And even those, what did you do over your summer vacation stories, I just loved those, and mine were always several thousand words, whereas my classmates
teachers
were
going, oh no.
They were on the more brief side. But I think I loved writing so much from a young age, and I have always been a really big reader, and I just have been writing for as long as I can remember. And I think that's actually why I ended up working in so many different industries. I essentially chased whatever job would allow me to write on the job, write and read, whatever was available where I could be writing actively during my daytime job hours, I wanted to do. So I write a lot of nonfiction. I write personal essays, and I currently am working on a second novel. So my first novel got shelved for a couple of years, and I would love to return to it eventually. If there are any agents out there looking for a highly autobiographical novel, please get in touch. But my second novel is highly unautobiographical, and it's set on a college campus, and it's a romantic comedy, and it's really just been like a joy to write. I think my first novel was pretty heavy in a lot of ways. It dealt with a lot of themes of trauma and familial strife, and I think it's really fun for me to write a novel that is not just so heavy feeling. So that's been really great. I've been trying to utilize our write-ins at Lake Literary, which we have a couple of times a month, to get some more words on the page. But I will be honest, right now I don't have a ton of time for writing. As long as
I was going to say, do you have a schedule or?
I don't, not currently. And I used to do the 5 a.m. Writers Club. And I just find now that at 5 a.m. I would prefer to be walking my dog or moving my body in some way. I think waking up and just sitting for me is hard. So now I tend to write in little scraps of time that I can cobble together. So, yeah.
And that's certainly a way to do it. Lots of people do that where they grab a little piece of paper if they have to wait in line, and just little snippets of time and waiting for the doctor to go. And I wonder too, I think that a lot of people's debut novels, the novels that they finally get published, are not the first novel that they wrote.
Yeah.
And so I think hopefully you'll stick with it, and that's probably, I think you'd advise that, right? Stick with it and maybe shelve it, but keep writing.
Absolutely. And in between writing both of these novels, I have written several personal essays, some of which have been published and some have basically just been, I would say, glorified blog entries for myself. And those are good too. Those also have use. And I think that writing to publish is a great way to launch your career, and it's an excellent way to build a community. But you also can be a writer and identify as a writer without publishing. And I think that's something that I had to learn myself. It took me a while. I've always been so ambitious in terms of career goals that I always felt like whatever I was writing should be published. And if it isn't, what's the point? But I definitely think that there is a lot of value in writing for yourself too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen that over the years at the Oshkosh Writers Club, and are you going to publish that? And, no, it's just
just getting it out.
Share it.
Or they're publishing. We have one guy who publishes for his young, is it grandson?
I think so.
Yeah.
Aww.
So he writes stories for him, which is charming.
That's great.
Yeah.
And the next generation needs us. They need to know how to write stories, and they need listeners and readers, and we can be those readers for them. And I think one thing that I'm really excited about for 2026 is that Lake Lit is going to probably have a summer camp for young writers.
Fun.
I need to work on finding instructors. If you are at all interested in teaching high school or middle schoolers how to write, I would love to have you on board to teach this summer camp. But that's one of my goals, is to get some younger writers into the building and
Absolutely.
get them, putting
And
some
if they're
words on the
motivated,
page.
it's going to be, I think it'll be a lot of fun, because I think the teenagers that like to write are really creative and passionate about that.
But they're using different ways than I used when I was a teenager, like, Substack, or they're using Reddit, or what's the other one that's Bytes?
I
I know, there's all sorts of things on
certainly.
A lot of platforms
internet,
that you can use,
And it's harder for me to find those because I'm not, the tech savvy or.
I used to use LiveJournal, which was a longer form journal online, and I'm an elder millennial. I won't say exactly how old, but I loved LiveJournal, and now I think that Substack has kind of become our generation's LiveJournal, but with a little bit more of a professionalism to it. There, you can actually, pay for Substack subscriptions for your favorite writers, and I love Substack. I think I find some of my favorite long-form writers on Substack, definitely.
So what would your advice be to, new people who are younger and writing?
Yeah, I would say do not be afraid to publish your work yourself on a blog or on Substack or whatever it may be. I think that's how you find an audience these days. I think there are ways to publish traditionally, but the landscape has really changed. And if you want to publish traditionally, start making those connections now.
It is all about connections, isn't it?
It helps, really. Yeah, it does.
It does. How do we get those connections?
Yeah. If you know, let us know.
Yeah.
And are you saying that then that's kind of like the end product, the be all, just get that niche audience, as opposed to if you're going to write something, you don't expect it then to be able to send it to a publisher, and then say it's never been published before.
I don't think that there is necessarily one proven path to getting published or to publishing yourself. I think that is the beautiful part about writing, and the beautiful part about literary community is that there are so many small presses and so many independent presses. You can write and publish with any small press or any independent press that you want to. there are so many options, I would say, and I love that there are all of these specialized presses now and printers who really love the idea of showcasing niche literature. So whether that might be like Southern feminist literature or sci-fi fantasy that has to do specifically with lizards or whatever it is.
You
know,
can
I think
find anything.
right.
Truly.
Exactly. And so I recommend just finding your niche that way. Find your people.
See, I kind of like, I started in romance and now I'm in horror. And when I'm depressed, I write poems. And I kind of like to dabble in anything I haven't touched before, just to, then I get to buy a lot of new books and read about that. And I really, try everything.
Yeah.
We've had some poets in here who are just amazing. And they're almost more spoken word poets than for the page, which is cool.
I love that. I always say in the editing process that you should be reading your work out loud too. And I think that spoken word artists are some of the best self-editors that I know. They are so polished and they're just used to constantly getting up in front of a crowd and making it work.
Yes, and part of that too is being open to going to open mics and doing that, because I've certainly done that where I've gone to an open mic, gone to your open mics and things like that, and you're reading it beforehand, and then you're like, uh-oh, now I have to go back, fill it out, and then still when you get up there, you're like, oh, I wish I had a pen right now.
It's all part of the process. I definitely edit when I'm reading out loud too.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of my favorite way to edit, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm now I'm very into text to speech with Microsoft Word.
Oh, cool.
Because I think I'd probably get a sore throat if I read all the words, but
yeah, you write big.
Can hear it over and over again.
Yeah, the cadence is important. Yeah, whatever tools you have to use, I think are really helpful. I like, there is this app called Otter, which is a transcription app. Have you heard of it? It's used by a lot of journalists. Yeah. So if you are interviewing someone, it will transcribe the interview for you, and it'll give you a written document as well. So you'll have the audio file and the text file.
That's cool.
I find it really helpful, especially if you don't have a lot of time. You can talk into this app, and it will record what you're saying, and then essentially you're writing. So that's another way that I write on the go. I'll sometimes transcribe what I'm saying out loud, and then, of course, edit it later to make it sound a little less crazed.
And it does a good job, because I just do text. If I have a note and I'm driving, I do text to speech on the Notes app, and then afterwards it's gibberish.
Yeah, sometimes.
Frog cow, raspberries.
You're like, oh, this was a great idea.
I just don't
what
know what I meant by it.
So what's next for Lake Literary?
Well, 2026 is going to be a big year. I will say, 2025, we kind of took off, I would say, more than we can chew. We bit off more than we could chew. And we will end up hosting 12 authors in 2025, which is one author a month. And I think that really is an excellent opportunity for people to get to know the business. However, for me personally, it has been a lot. So we are going to go down to quarterly author readings in 2026, and they will be paired with that open mic. So instead of having a monthly open mic and monthly author readings, which is 24 events, we're kind of winnowing down to 4. And that will open up our schedule a lot. So we'll be able to have more book launch parties.
Oh,
I'm
fun.
offering authors the option to book our space for book launch parties. And that will be really cool, because I think the price is really affordable, and I will include catered heavy appetizers and beverages, and even a mobile bar if the author desires that kind of a party. So I think that's really exciting. In the rest of 2025, there are a couple things I'm really excited about. So we are having a Gothic fiction workshop.
Oh, fun.
That's October 1st. And then October 23rd is our Lake reading series, and poet Richard Vargas will be reading. And he'll also be teaching a workshop, a Dia de los Muertos workshop, the same day, which will be very cool. And then in November, we have a couple great things coming up. So as you, I'm sure, all know, National Novel Writing Month was disbanded or dissolved as a nonprofit. And I really feel like there are a lot of writers who are missing that. And so we are going to have a Fond du Lac Novel Writing Month, and I'm dubbing it Fond du Lac. A mouthful. It's our hometown twist on the NaNoWriMo
Because you guys do
challenge.
fondue a lot in Fond du Lac.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So writers will attempt to draft a 50,000-word novel in just 30 days. We will come together throughout the month in person to do write-ins. We'll have an online word count tracker that is on the Honor system. And we'll have this supportive, creative environment to keep the momentum going. I'm really excited about it. And then we'll take the month of December off, and we will come back together in January on 4 Sundays and edit our drafts.
Oh, nice.
So I think that will be really cool.
It will, because December is chock full of family stuff.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Have you done NaNoWriMo? Yeah. Have you done that before?
That's how I started my first novel, actually. And I ended up with about 20,000 words. And maybe I should have stopped then. Now it's really got its hooks in me.
Yeah, just in case people have never heard of that. I mean, because that's where you just write, you want to get 50,000 words out, just keep writing.
30 days.
To show that you can write it.
1667 words a day.
And it's not great fiction. You will have to go back in January when you get time and edit it. But it's just a way to get words on the page, which is...
I've written 12 novels.
Wow.
National novel writing.
Wow. So
Yeah.
yes, this will be an opportunity for you to write another one.
garbage.
Yeah, same.
But, you get better. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Now they're like, oh, there's almost a plot. Because the month before in October is Preptober. And you outline or you get your ideas and your characters. And you do everything but write.
Yep.
So it's kind of
We'll
fun.
be announcing those sign-up links soon,
Cool.
too. So if anybody is listening or watching and wants to join our Fond du Lac challenge, we will be here for your questions. In November, author G. Anthony, who I believe appeared
Yes,
Yep.
on this,
Love him.
he'll be teaching a 4-week writing course on the wound within. And that'll be another opportunity for writers to sharpen their craft.
He is so passionate and inspiring, really.
Yeah, he really is a wonderful writer and a great community builder.
Definitely.
And Bill Gillard will be doing a reading as well. So he'll be at Lake Literary Center in November. And then on November 20th, we are actually hosting the Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets calendar reading for the Fond du Lac area. And that is an annual calendar, and it features poets who submit their work. And the artist of the cover art this year is Mel Kolstad, and she is a leader in the arts
follow her,
community
yeah.
in Fond du Lac. So that is exciting. I think it's going to be a great night.
So how do you get these people to come and put on a workshop? G. Anthony, the elusive Bill Gillard. Do they contact you? Do you reach out to them?
It's a mixture of both. I have been approached by a lot of authors, which is great. I think we're living in this era where authors essentially are their own publicists.
Absolutely.
So they're reaching out to book readings, to book workshops, to talk to me just about what our programming looks like. So a lot of people approach me, but sometimes if I really want someone, I will reach out to them. And usually it ends up working out. Sometimes it doesn't, but that's okay. I really like booking authors. I think getting to know them and getting to know how they communicate is really fun for me. And it also just, I think, bolsters the relationship between Lake Literary Center and authors who are trying to promote their work.
Making those connections that's the whole ball of wax,
Yeah.
besides the writing.
Yeah, it really is. And building community.
Yeah.
And I think I never thought of myself as a big networker, just in the same way that I never thought I would be my own boss. But really, I think it comes easy to me when it's something I love so much. So meeting an author that I have admired for a long time is, for me, doesn't even feel like networking. It doesn't feel like passing out my business card, and it doesn't feel forced in that way.
True.
So
Yeah, and that's a good point as well, that even if you have like a traditional, even a bigger publisher, you're going to be doing your own marketing.
Mostly.
But if you're self-publishing, or if you're doing those smaller presses, they just, in the state of the publishing industry, they're not going to have the money to go out and do things. So they
Not that we do either, but you can do Facebook.
We get to hoof
you
it
can
and
do,
stuff.
yeah, you do
So
what
we
you
need
can.
places where we can showcase, where we can talk to people, like you said, build community. And
Yeah, I agree entirely. And I think having a platform is really useful. You know, having a big Instagram or Facebook following is really helpful. But also just making sure that your voice as an author is preserved through those efforts. You are kind of your own brand when you're promoting your book or promoting your work.
True.
And I think it's important to sort of have a little bit more oversight of that than authors may be used to. I think it's really important for authors to preserve their own brand identity. And I think maybe that's a good thing.
oh, absolutely, to be in charge of it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's a lot more work.
it certainly
But
is.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think my brand went through a bunch of different changes as I evolved as a writer. Because first it was just romance, but then it was like, oh wait, I want to do other stuff. So it broadened out, which I think is kind of nice because I learned a little marketing along the way, perhaps forced to.
yeah, exactly. I don't think that we as writers necessarily think of ourselves as marketers, but it's important to just sort of have an overall vision of where you want your work to be seen and heard. And
Or hang with other people. Like I get a lot of ideas from Tom and from the other writers that I meet with often. Because I say, oh, how did you get that trailer made? And they say,
Right.
well, I went on Canva and this is how I did it. And then pretty soon I'm making trailers for people. It's kind of fun.
exactly, it is fun. And I think, you diversify your skill set in that way too. And then you can help other people. And
And you can procrastinate writing just a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Exactly. We all need Canva in our lives to procrastinate writing
Yes.
more. That's true. It does help.
Hole.
It helps.
And yeah, like you said, that just being in charge of it, and I think that you know what you want, you know who's gonna want to read your book, because that's part of marketing as well. Is I wrote this book, who are my readers?
Yeah.
And you go to them, and I think that's Michael Perry said one time. One of the things from doing things with Lake Fly Writers Conferences, I got to meet my hero, which is Michael Perry, and I think he said, well, we'll give you this much money, you can go to these 6 cities, and we'll fly you there. And he's like, well, how about you, instead of give me that money, and I take my car, and then I go to 15 little towns instead.
Because that's more his niche.
Yes.
That's so cool. And then he knew what his
Yes.
brand voice was, what his
Definitely.
authorial vision was for that tour.
And I don't
Yeah.
think that author's favorite thing is to go out. We'd rather be writing than going and sitting there and putting ourselves out there. But
Because we're introverts mostly. I mean,
but
Yeah.
then when we do get a chance
Absolutely.
to talk about our book, we take it.
yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think so.
And you should. I think
Yeah.
I love the idea that Lake Literary Center is a business for introverts, just because I feel like we are constantly bombarded with this idea that you need to be an influencer, or that you need to be a girl boss and a CEO. And technically I am the CEO of Lake Literary
But
Center.
then you got to wear those 4-inch heels. Oh,
Yes, exactly. And I have back problems, so
Ah.
no heels for me.
right.
Yeah, but I just think that we are constantly told that that's what success looks like, and I don't think that, to me, that's what success looks like. To me, success looks like getting control over my own schedule and being able to read a really excellent book, in 2 days.
Oh.
I love that.
And I think that smaller places like yours is kind of a good way as well. What do you want to be? You want to stand up. You want people to know about your book and talk about your book. Maybe you want to read from it. And so, but you go to an open mic, and maybe you're not being interviewed by ABC, but you are talking to people, and they're happy to have heard your story. So you get that reward. You get that same feeling of success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, sharing your words, your stories that come from inside your brain with an audience is the most intimate way you can engage with a readership. Really, just to do a reading and then to host a writing workshop on a part of craft that you're passionate about is such a cool way to engage with your audience. And I just feel like we don't always get that opportunity with Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, although they are extremely helpful.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok followers. So please continue to follow. But having that in-person connection is really, really helpful in my opinion.
What I had read recently in one of the podcasts was that they're getting away from having your own website, which I was just like, oh my gosh, that's the, you have to have the website. And now it's like, no, I have TikTok, I have Instagram, I have Facebook. I'm contacting people constantly, and I'm on Amazon. So I still have my website, but I'm kind of flirting with ditching the however much it costs me every year.
Yeah.
To have that other presence, which I thought was a millennial or after thing, maybe Gen Z.
I think it probably is. And I think I'll probably continue to have my own personal author website for now, simply because I think it's a good place to store my portfolio.
To gather everything, yeah.
Exactly. And because we work in multiple genres, I think that's really helpful to let people know, okay, here are my works of fiction. Here's where you can find my nonfiction. Here is maybe my branding and marketing background, things
Short
like
stories,
that.
whatever.
Exactly, yep. And if you have an education background, here is where you can find my CV, where I have taught classes in these different organizations. And so I think it's helpful in that regard, in a career sense. But if you're simply looking just to build a platform and just to sell books, you probably don't need a website. I don't know.
I don't know.
And maybe it's an option. And then, save yourself a couple $100 or whatever.
Or $500.
It costs. Yeah. Yep.
Although that might be the expectation if you do go with a publisher, they want to know that you have a website.
Yeah. Because they're the older.
Yeah, I think there's some advantages to it as well. It's not quite as fleeting.
True.
If you can make it work for you without getting it, I think so. But that way, this is the collection of my books. This is a review I got from it. Here's my blog where I talk about why I wrote the book and things like that.
I think now that you mention it, having an author website would be an especially useful place to have reviews, to highlight reviews.
That's a good idea.
From author or from readers who just love your work. So, brag about yourself as much as you can through those reviews and highlight those on your website for sure.
So I've known about Lake Literary Center, I think probably since almost its inception. But I think now it's just in this interview where I kind of got where it all folds together when you were talking about, always writing from a young kid, when you were a young kid, because if you want to be a good writer, you need to write. There's a saying, your first million words are just practice.
Yeah, that's true.
But you also, which unfortunately is true, you have to keep writing to be good. And you also have to read a lot, and you're providing both of those, reading opportunities, writing opportunities.
I try, and I do think that reading is the basis of good writing, and I know that that's kind of an old school form of thought, but I find that the best writers I know are the most avidly intellectually curious people that I've ever met. So they will be doing research on the Himalayas and then incorporating that research into their book, or they will really love the idea of writing a romance, and instead of just starting to write with no guidance, they'll read 400 romance novels. And I just think that kind of passion and that dedication to intellectual research and to enriching your life with reading is so important. It is what makes a good writer, in my opinion.
And you learn from it. And like the saying goes, if you're an author, you're not stealing, you're borrowing, and you're, so we're not mimicking, but you're
standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's how I'll eventually write my feminist version of The Great Gatsby. We'll see.
Well, today we're talking with Erica Floyd, the founder and CEO of Lake Literary. And thank you very much for being here. You can find her website at
lakeliterary.org.
Right.
And for Tom, Bill, and myself, thank you for watching Author Showcase.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Author Showcase of Oshkosh with your hosts, Dixie Jo Jarko, Bill Gillard, and Thomas Cannon. We'd love to hear from you, whether you're interested in being a guest on the show, have a question, or want to share your thoughts. Please reach out to us on social media or via email at oshkoshauthorshowcase@gmail.com.